You are now tuned in to Hollywood Wayz with Doug and Breezy. Oh, hey, Ted.
All right, welcome. Hollywood Wayz. Breezy is shooting All-American today, so she is unfortunately unavailable. I have been, just a little update from me, I have been writing and writing like a machine, like I'm 21 years old and desperate for $1, because that's how I feel right now. I'm actually really excited. I got this show that we're going to independently finance. I got producer Ted Foxman here who's going to put in a couple of shekels, and I'm going to do the same. So I'm just really pumped because we're going to do it the old independent way, the way I've done things in the past, without waiting for anybody to give us what their opinions are, and we're just going to go do it. So script will be done this week, and we'll have some updates on that, so I'm excited. But today, special guest, close friend of mine, and a Jewish bodybuilder for Hanukkah. I mean, what could be better than that? Jake Steinfeld.
That's the setup. I knew it, D. What's up? A Jewish.
What an amazing Hanukkah present.
On the third night of Hanukkah, they delivered a muscular Jew.
Yep. And I mean, Jake, you know, your story, which, you know, our generation knows, I was a New York, Long Island guy, as you were. And when I was growing up, you were the guy. You were everywhere. You built a brand, Body by Jake.
Right.
You started Fit TV that you sold for $500 million.
That's
Is that
what
correct?
it was. Yes,
97?
it was. 1997. That's
What'd
right.
you do with all that money, Jake? Why didn't you buy the fucking Lakers?
Well, I wanted to. We could get into that, man.
Yeah.
But it's first of all, it's great sitting here with you, D.
Yeah, it's exciting.
You know,
right?
I've been we go back a long way.
Yep.
You know, remember the Entourage days, and what you've been able to accomplish is unbelievable. But I love what you're doing. The thing, like you opened up the show by saying, this is what I'm doing. I am not going to wait for somebody to finance me. I'm not going to pitch this idea to someone who's going to tell me no. Look, I've always been a big believer in the world lets you be what you make them believe you are. Mm-hmm. Producer Ted knows. He's shaking his head up and down. Yeah. You take control of your own destiny. And I think that's what life's about. You talk about this on your show, every podcast, the different guests that you have. A lot of people overcome adversity. Everybody does. You know, everyone has something. I was an overweight kid. I had a bad stutter growing up. You know, my dad bought me a set of weights at 13. It changed my life.
Weights, and we're talking 1975?
I'm talking, I was 13, so it was my bar mitzvah in 1971.
So if everyone can imagine, there's no gyms. There's not a lot of weights around, even in professional athletics. This is not a big thing.
Listen, I'm talking about that we sent away to York Barbell in the back of it wasn't even Muscle and Fitness. It was a muscular development, it was called, right? And in the back of the magazine, you could send away for weights and a T-shirt too, a York Barbell T-shirt in York, Pennsylvania. Now, I'm a Jewish kid, you know, in Baldwin, Long Island. You know, you're a Merrick guy, and not a lot of Jewish kids are working out. And I just, you know what it was one of those moments. And I'm a big believer, like we talk about, life's about moments. And this was, and we all have moments, some great, some not so great. And I'll never forget the moment. I'm downstairs. I'm in the basement. I'm the oldest of 4 kids, so I'm the oldest. You live in the basement. You know, let me give you a little visual. I had my black light posters, you know, all over the walls. I had my Jimi Hendrix on one wall, Alice Cooper on the other. And I had my black light netting, you know, the netting. And I would sit and, you know, listen to Jimi Hendrix, and then I'd listen to Alice Cooper. And I was never a big student. And it was like, you know, my father kind of saw this, and one moment that happened in the summertime, my dad called me outside into our backyard, and he had set up this weight bench. And he said, come on, let's do some bench pressing. I kind of looked down at my Twinkies, and I said, you know, this is really not for me, Dad. And he was a guy that would ask you to do something once, and that was the end of it. And
Meaning you did it? Or
No,
or
I
he
never
wouldn't
did
bother you again?
He would never bother me again.
Right.
And
he either saw if it stuck or not.
It either stuck or it didn't, and he gave it the shot, and the weights sat there for the rest of the summer. At the end of the summer, he said, bring the weights inside. As I was saying, I lived in the basement, so off to the left of my bedroom.
You're like Harry Potter.
Was a little more muscular, well, fatter at the time, and no glasses, and an afro. But that's besides the point. I'll get to that in a second. And to the left of my bedroom was the laundry room. So I put the weight bench in there, and that was the end of it. Here we are this one night. I'm doing social studies homework. I was never a student. I'm highlighting every single thing. I don't know what I'm doing. And I start sort of daydreaming like I've always done. Looking out the window, and for some reason I look to the left, and there's that Easy Curl bar. It's a bent bar to do bicep curls with that my father had bought. I had seen it every night, D. But this night I got up, I walked into the laundry room, I picked up the weights, I walked into my bedroom, and I had this mirror behind my bedroom door, and I had this ottoman. So I took the mirror, put it on top of my ottoman. I also love to listen to Frank Sinatra as I did it my way. And at the end of Frank's album, there's like this 20 seconds of wild applause for Frank. So I queued up the record to the applause for Frank Sinatra. I put on my headset, my cans, right? I'm looking in the mirror. I had my underpants on, right? My stomach hanging over my underpants. I'm looking in the mirror, and I start doing my bicep curls, visualizing 50,000 screaming fans at Madison Square Garden. And that was where the sickness began.
But screaming for what? You were
for
into
me.
bodybuilding,
No,
though?
for me. I just thought. I was reading the magazines. I wasn't even a bodybuilder, but I saw myself as Mr. America. That's what I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. Whatever. I'm 13. And all I talked about was I'm going to become Mr. America.
And just because of this magazine and because your father got you this weight, you didn't even ask for him.
I didn't even ask for him.
You know, it's interesting because, what we're going to get into and talk about, which this business, when you do it fully, it's very entrepreneurial. And if you really want to succeed, almost everything you do is a startup. And Jake, who now owns the Professional Lacrosse League.
I founded Major League Lacrosse,
Major League Lacrosse. And, okay, so there's two of them. So Major League Lacrosse you own. You've got massive amounts of business interests and things, which all started, which is what I find fascinating. And one of the things I just want to jump back for a second because, when I say I don't write a lot of stuff, it's because the idea of dealing with all of the people that I'm going to have to hear with. So Jake's story, from the moment we became friends, I knew there was a show about this, which That's they kind of have it now. They kind of took it, which is with a female. But Jake was essentially, you were the first personal trainer,
I did
possibly in the country.
I was the first guy that did personal fitness training and made it an occupation. And as you say, as an entrepreneur, D, look, I didn't know. I went to college upstate New York. You know Cornell University? Yeah, I went to Cortland down the street. Right. As you know, where it snows every day. And not too conducive to walk around in your gold lame posing trunks and 18 inches of snow. And once again, one of these moments, I was the first one in my whole family. My parents never went to college. I never had any relatives that went to college. I was the first one to go to college. So it was a big moment. And my father, promised, I will find a way to, if you can make the dean's list, I'll get your car. I was like, that's a pretty cool deal, man. And I'm there for 3 days. It's snowing. I'm trying to do some homework, and I'm here.
And are you a amateur bodybuilder at this point? You've gotten in shape?
I'm starting. So
you're no longer the
fat
kid.
out. No, not the fat kid. No, I'm training now, right? Mm-hmm. I'm training. I brought my, I had my trunk with me, and I had my protein powder that you would mix with water, right?
There was protein powders that were actually on the market?
There was protein powder that was like chalk. I mean, you mixed it with water and raw eggs, and it was cement. It was before. It was literally that. Rocky came out a year and a half later, right? I was up at Cortland 76,
right?
And so my life was all bodybuilding. I'm going to California, and I didn't want to disappoint my parents, so.
And it sounds so simple now, I'm going to California. Even me 10 years later, when I told my parents after I graduated college I was going to California, I mean, first of all, my mother was hysterical. She thought that was like, she'd never see me again.
Yeah.
The world has shrunk considerably since this time.
Well, when we were growing up, come on, we were talking about
there.
when we were growing up, producer Ted.
I came when I was 41 and my mom was still crying.
So, exactly. Well, okay, here I was at 18, right? And here was this moment where my mom, she called every day to check in, and it wasn't no cell phones. We called, there was a phone in one of the rooms, one of the dorm rooms that was we got it to work without having to put money in it, it was a free phone.
Right.
So my mom would check in and call, how's poli-sci, how's English, I finally got up enough balls and I said, Ma, I'm going to go to California to become a bodybuilder. Silence. Yeah. All of a sudden,
it's worse than mine. I'm going to be a comic.
Herbie, pick up the phone and talk to your kid. I'm putting my head in the oven. True story. And the bus ride from upstate New York to Baldwin felt like I was going to Australia.
So you dropped out of school?
I retired after 90 days. Right. I served 90 days.
I was married for 90 days.
So here we go, 90 days.
Get it out quick.
We're done. I got it. I understood it. I accomplished. Okay, that's college.
Right.
I could do this.
Right.
I'm on to the next deal. And I made the move here. And it's very interesting that we're talking about this because I have 4 kids. Now you know my kids, Dee. You know my wife, Tracy. We're married December 11th. It'll be 33 years.
Congrats.
I talk to my kids about life's about moments, and my daughter just moved to the UK. And I remember when I came to L.A., for the first 8 or 9 months, I couldn't meet a person. I was... Like in New York, I knew a lot of people, man. I was rocking and rolling, and here I was in L.A. I couldn't meet a soul. It was a strange. I mean, I remember I had an apartment because my parents had a friend who said, "Oh, Northridge, which is in the Valley, right? You should live there. It's very terrific." So I got an apartment in Northridge. Actually, it was a dorm that I went to at Cal State Northridge. I watched the Yankees. And the Yankee World Series, 77.
Yep.
76, 77.
Yep, Dodgers,
right?
I think.
Yanks, Dodgers, right? And
Reggie hit 3 home runs.
On a black and white television. And like a girl knocked on my door, like asking for butter. And I said, I don't have any. Okay? I mean, that's how fucked up I was. I couldn't meet a person. I couldn't.
It's so funny because I don't think people can understand this now. With social media, with Facebook, you can't enter a place as a stranger. When I got to L.A., it was the same thing. I knew my wife-to-be who went back to college, and I knew nobody. And I didn't know where to go or who to talk to. So what's your first move to kind of try to proceed?
Well, listen. I mean, I used to go from Northridge to World Gym, okay? Now,
that's a far trip.
To Venice. Now, here's a little story. Joe Gold, who founded Gold's Gym, the world-famous Gold, sold his name to a guy named Ken Sprague, and he could not use his own name. So he opened up World Gym on Main Street, 2nd floor, right? And this is where all the dinosaurs, I say, still roam the earth. Arnold, Louis, all these guys worked out there. Joe, no girls.
For the younger crowd, we're talking Schwarzenegger,
right,
Lou Ferrigno, who became the Incredible Hulk.
Right, exactly. And Joe Gold would not allow women in the gym and no music. Right? And if you dropped a weight or you spit, he was giving you money back. I mean, it was a scene and a half.
Right.
And I'm looking, and I'm here. I left a girlfriend. I left my friends. I left my family. My grandma, who was my biggest fan in the world, was, she was the one that I wish she was here today, Dee, because she didn't see any of this. Well, hopefully she does, but, she was the one who was on my side the whole time.
As a bodybuilder. I couldn't be on your side for that.
She was the one who would always say, you got to do what you go after your dreams. And to the point where she called me when I was back up at school. Let me cut back for a second. She said, I have a surprise for you, darling. And I said, what is it? She says, I want you to come to New York City, and we're going to see a movie. I said, okay, great. Yeah, and I got on a bus, got to New York City. I had never been to a screening of a movie before. Screening, D, this is what you do, right? This is the world we live in today. You go to screenings, and you're with the cast and the crew. I had no idea. All I knew is that I walked in to this magnificent theater with these huge doors, and there's a big audience there, and there was a bodybuilder on the stage, a guy named Ed Corney, who at the time was Mr. Hawaii. Now, I had never seen a real live bodybuilder. Now, I trained in Amityville, okay, at this place called Future Man when I was living in Baldwin, and I entered the Mr. Teenage Delmarva, Delaware, Maryland, and Virginia, on a park bench, and I went up to the only guy that I knew at this place called Future Man in 1976, and his name was Tony Pandolfo, okay? He was Mr. Apollo. That was the contest that he won. And I walked up and I said to him, Tone, I have this contest that I'm entering in 2 weeks. Could you teach me a posing routine? And he said, no. I was beside. First of all, I had a bad stutter. It took everything in my world to get the words up, to have the courage to come ask this man. He was a grown-up. The dude was a grown-up. And he said no to me. And his training partner saw that it happened. He comes over to me and he goes, Jake, don't worry about it. I said, what do you mean? I asked the guy for a posing routine. He goes, he's intimidated by you. I said, why? He goes, your shoulders are bigger than his. And I said, he's a grown-up, for Christ's sakes, man. And it was that kind of moment that was the only bodybuilder that I knew. Cut to, here I am, upstate New York at school. My grandma invites me to this movie, whatever it was going to be, and there's Ed Corney on the stage before this movie begins, this magnificent posing routine. It's the screening of Pumpin' Iron. Okay? Arnold Schwarzenegger, which, to me, that's my Gone with the Wind. Okay? That movie is it for me.
Do you still watch it today?
I could watch it wherever it is. I could put it on.
Everyone who's never seen it, you should just check it out to see what Arnold was like 40 years ago when he really couldn't speak English.
Couldn't speak.
Right?
I mean, yeah, but he was the king. I mean, the dude was the king. He was the king for sure.
Yeah.
So here I am. We watch the movie. It's fantastic. But I'm looking around. I'm looking for Arnold, right? And I don't see him. So I'm a little bit disappointed, D. I figured, Arnold Schwarzenegger was going to be there. So as the movie, the end comes up, what do you do when there's a screening? You don't get up, right? You wait till all the credits roll, you clap, you sit down. What do I know? I got up with my grandma, we walked out. People looking at me, what's wrong with this kid, And I went to open these big doors, and I was a little disappointed that Arnold wasn't there. And I opened these doors, and in the foyer, there's Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he's standing right in the middle. He's with his girlfriend. And I just walked right up to him, and I started shaking his hand. And he shook my hand, and it felt like I was shaking his hand for about an hour and 45 minutes.
Probably were, Jake.
Right? I'm sure I was. and my grandma was right there, and people started coming out of the theater, and he kind of pulled back like, what's wrong with this kid? And I just stood there for however long it was until the last person left. Arnold and his girl were about to walk out of this foyer in this theater. It was now beginning to snow outside. And my grandma looks at me and says, "Do you have a question for Arnold?" I said, "Well, I don't know, Gram." She goes, "Don't you have a question for Arnold?" I go, I don't know. I don't think so. So he leaves, and my grandma walks out onto Madison Avenue, and she goes, Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he turns around, says, "How you doing?" And he comes over, and she says, "My grandson, Jake Steinfeld, has a question for you." And he comes over to me, and his girlfriend was in his arm like it was yesterday. He says, "Do you have a question for Arnold?" And now he always talks about Arnold in the third person. So I'm thinking, Arnold him, or was some other Arnold? And I'm looking at him, which really felt like it was 2 days. And I said, "What do you do for your calves?" And he said something. And his girlfriend looked at me like, the kid has got problems for sure. And they walked away, and my grandmother goes, "What do you do for your calves? Are you a putz? What do you do for your calves?" Oh, I have to, yeah. Yeah.
Do you?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I did an Entourage episode about this. Jews have small calves.
Listen, I never got calf implants, and my calves, that's what kept me out of. Honestly, aside from not taking steroids, which I never did, I always had, my thighs got big, my upper body gets huge. I have calves that look great, I'm sure, in stockings, if I ever put stockings on.
This is an amazing moment. This is really Johnny Drama. I may have picked this up from you at some point. I have small calves too. What are you going to do? But
there's nothing you
did
can
he
do.
Give you anything?
You know what, man? It was a great moment. I ended up meeting him again in L.A., and I remember that when he became the governor, he and I have been friends for a long time. When he became governor of California, he asked me to be chair of the Fitness Council in California,
isn't that amazing, though?
Which is a cool thing. I mean, listen, I'm just saying this because two guys from Strong Island, right? That if you have a dream, and I know a lot of people talk about this, but here we've lived it, man. And producer Ted has lived it too, although he's a Chicago guy. He came out at 41, but it's okay. If you have a dream, you got to take the shot. Yeah. Because if you don't take the shot in your life, if you don't take shots, and you hear all this stuff, if you don't shoot, you can't score. But it truly is that if you don't take shots, you never know. And the last thing you want to have happen is that you would never want to be 60 or 70 years old looking in a mirror saying, at 20, I could have done this. At 30, I had this idea. At 45, I was going to write a show and I didn't do it. That's what makes people crazy. Yeah. Failure. Listen, success is failure turned inside out. I truly believe it. Think about the successes you have. You talk about it a little bit, But it's more fun talking about the failures that you've had.
That's
It's
what
builds
Jews do.
character. It's what Jews do. But I think everybody does.
No, but I mean, Jews specifically, they do like to hone on the negativity. But
Is this because it's Hanukkah? Are we zoning in on the Jewish stuff?
You know what? I like to have a Jewish. I think you're our first Jewish guest. No, actually,
should
we
have
had
some
George
Mark this
Belfort on a week ago. So
Nice.
that was good. But so
Nice.
I just think what's special for me in these stories. I mean, I remember I went to the Goodfellas premiere in 1990 when I didn't even know any way that I could enter this business, and and got to stand around Scorsese and De Niro and all of these people, and to
Let me
end
say
up
it quick. Michael Imperioli, right? Become a great actor. His first television show he ever did was Big Brother Jake on the Family Channel.
Well, we're going to get into a lot of your acting and all of that stuff because Jake is a true Hollywood story, comes out for bodybuilding and does all sorts of things, and we'll be right back after this. All right, welcome back, Hollywood Wayz. Jake Steinfeld. Some of you still know him as Body by Jake, which became...
Come on.
You don't really use that brand anymore.
How many meetings have we taken? And you go, Jake, 65. And I go, D, I'm 63 years old, man.
You're only 10 years older than me, but it's weird because I grew up on you. You were so present in my life everywhere. Every time you turned the TV on, you were working out. Turn on one of my favorite movies, Coming to America, and there's Jake playing the fucking cab driver at the airport. So what I want to talk about is you're in L.A., like you said. You don't know anybody. You don't know where to go, and you're trying to make this bodybuilding career, which that was not going to be your thing. You weren't going to win the gold medal in the Olympics. You weren't going to do so. Tell me about the transition to start coming up with how you're going to build this incredible empire that you have built.
Well, listen, first of all, I never had a plan. I never had a business plan. I never went to college to go to a business class, to go to a business school, to understand how to put a business plan together. I was the IP. I was the product, and that's what I believed. And I loved working out. I loved what it did for me. I had a moment, once again, we talked in the earlier segment about life's about moments. I had to make a decision. I wanted to enter the Mr. America contest. I entered the Mr. Southern California contest in 1979. I came in second place.
Nice.
Guy that beat me was on steroids. I went from 231 pounds to 201 pounds, right? I did all that. I sucked the weight down, man. I was ripped to the bone.
This is, just so I know, there's weight classes? Is that the idea?
No. Well, at the time, there really wasn't
small.
a weight class.
201 is tiny, 201, right?
It was the small contest. It wasn't. I never made it to the big league, where it was a heavyweight and a lightweight contest.
Okay, so they had those, but the heavyweights. I mean, Arnold. I have no idea. 280.
Arnold was never 280. But
what was he?
Arnold was maybe 220, 225.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
Lou Ferrigno was over 300 pounds.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought Arnold was that
incredible specimen of a guy. But the thing was, I went from 231 to 201, didn't take steroids. I did everything right, man. The guy that beat me was on steroids. I had to make a decision, D, because here I was right in L.A., now for a year and a half, closing in on 2 years, and everything was bodybuilding. I'm going to be Mr. America.
How are you making money doing that?
I'm bouncing in a bar.
Right. Okay.
I'm bouncing in a bar, and I'm selling my dad's. He had a little magazine that he did, a theater magazine, which was called Curtain Time, which is like Playbill in the East, right? So I make a few shekels off of that.
Right.
Anything that I can do to make a little bit of extra money. And there was the moment where I had to make a decision. Now, I read all the muscle magazines. Everyone said eat 18 eggs and 24 chickens a day, and you too could become Mr. America. I clucked a lot.
Right.
But I didn't become Mr. America. No one talked about steroids. Here I was in the gym, in the shower. Guys are hitting each other with needles. And I'm going, ooh, there's something wrong with this. I remember in fourth grade, remember the TB test? You were a little bit, you're a lot younger than me, but they would give you a little TB test. The nurse would come around, a little 4-prong thing in your forearm. I'd faint at that, let alone put a needle in my own battissimo, right? I said, I'm not doing it.
So what's the decision?
The decision was, I'm going to stay here. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to make this work.
But bodybuilding's over.
As a professional, right? Now, I left my friends, a girlfriend. Think about it, right? I don't want to go back to New York a loser. That was everything in my mind. I'm not going home a loser. Because everyone expected me to come home, right? Whether a loser or not, you're coming home in 6 months. You're never going to make it.
Right.
And Right place, right time. I'm living in Studio City, California, right, at this apartment complex where there was a lot of, let's call it out-of-work actors and actresses.
Right.
Actually, the guy that created Barney Miller, or one of the producers of Barney Miller, was living underneath me. Bruce Springsteen's sister, Pammy Springsteen, was my next-door neighbor.
Right.
I mean, it was an incredible apartment complex. And I'm bouncing at night. We could talk about. I was doing the Incredible Hulk at Universal Studios. I'm in green paint, you know.
Hey, so let just take a little side journey for
Okay.
that. So
All
you're
right.
basically
Stand-in.
You were Lou Ferrigno stand-in on the show The Hulk.
Right, yeah, the first season, and then I did the Hulk for the Universal Studios tour. And I was in green paint 14 hours a day, man.
And you came out,
For
out
real?
running at people at the tram?
Yeah, that's what I did. No, I was in green paint 14 hours a day. And as a matter of fact, my first movie that I ever did was Cheech and Chong's next movie, right after they did Up in Smoke, because Tommy Chong used to work out at World Gym. I used to go to the gym, and I would sweat, and green would come out of my pores.
Yeah, this could
And
have been
this one
healthy,
day-
Jake.
no,
the steroids
it's
might have
right.
been healthier than the
I think-
green paint.
I honestly, to this day, I think so.
Did they
because
paint you every day? Like what, with
I
spray?
had a water-based paint from my neck down.
Like a spray?
No, I was painted. I have photos we could post from. I had a trailer, and I had two straps that I hung on to, and my makeup artist would literally, with a roller.
What'd you get paid for this?
I made $1,000 a week.
Oh, it's all right.
No.
Good money.
I did. Listen, and plus I had all the free steak patties, and and you know I was.
So your real job, though, is, aside from the stand-in on the show, which anyone
Right.
doesn't know, stand-in, you're standing in for lighting and all this. But
That's it.
You're also entertaining people on the
on
Universal
Studios tour. Right,
Okay.
exactly. There was a show called The Makeup Show where they would make up people as Frankenstein and the Bride.
Right.
And then at the end of that little show, the Hulk would come out, and I'd run through the audience, and people would.
Did they think you're Lou?
Everybody thought you were Lou. Everybody, and you know, and the thing was, is that the bet was, because I had a green yak wig on, I had you know, a forehead that they put on, right, with spirit gum and duo. They even put a nose on top of this nose. I don't know why they had to do that. If you get a close up of that, I could do a eclipse of the sun on this one. And it was an oil-based paint on my face, right? But they gave me teeth, fake teeth, right? So, and all I had to do, because it was, the growl was piped in, there were no lines, so I would just, you know, go like this. You know, you flex your traps, you walk around,
right?
You look for pretty girls, and that was the deal. I would spit my teeth out once a show because I would make people laugh. I mean, people would get so frightened because I would walk up to someone who wasn't paying attention. I'd say, "How you doing?" And no one heard the Hulk speak.
Right.
So when the Hulk spoke, it would flip people out, man.
That's
so
hilarious.
that was a great thing. I was bouncing at night on my off
How'd you
days.
get along with Lou Ferrigno? So he was like your idol.
Louis was great. Listen, man. Louis was a tough customer because Arnold played a lot of bad
And
tricks.
he was
on
deaf,
him.
completely deaf, correct?
Well, he was deaf, but he was able to. You know, Louis done a much better job today speaking. Does so well,
Right.
And we have since have been great friends. It was tough.
What do you
though,
mean
in the
since?
beginning.
What do you mean it was tough in the beginning?
We had some moments because, you know, Louis was the Hulk, man. And if you saw Pumping Iron, you saw Arnold really took advantage of Louis. You know, mind games, and that's what Arnold did. It's what he does today. You know, it's what he does. You got to know who you're playing with. In business, like anything else, you know people, right? Producer Ted, you deal with people. You know how to work with people and deal with people. And Arnold was a guy who played mind games. He really fucked with Louis in a very big way, and I think it hurt Louis in his life doing a lot of things. So when he became the Hulk, he was the star, and I was just happy to be there, man. I couldn't believe that I was there, that I'm the Hulk, you know. And this one day, I'm with my two makeup artists. I got a trailer. D. You know, you understand.
Unreal.
So you're making movies. You know, you have dressing rooms and trailers. I have a trailer, and I'm having the time of my life. Right? I get all the free steak patties. I get frozen yogurt. Whatever, and I'm making $1,000 a week. I don't have no lines. I'm just having a ball, meeting a million girls. It doesn't get better. Louis comes in. And Louis 6'6". I'm 6 feet tall, right? At the time, I weighed 250. Louis weighs 3 and change. Right? He's a beast. He's ripped to the bone, man. And I mean, if Louis wasn't in the room, people would go, "Man, you look huge."
Right.
But when he's in the room, I look, God forbid, like I need oxygen. You know, like there's something wrong with this kid. And he goes like this. He says, "Fuck you, Jake. I'm the Hulk. I'm the Hulk, and you're nothing." I'm like, "What do you mean, Louis? I'm the Hulk too." And he says, "Fuck you. I'm the Hulk, and you're nothing." And I was very upset with that. And it took many years for us to reconcile.
He was getting jealous that you were getting this attention on the tour.
But because here's the thing, because look, people knew that Louis had a hearing. You know, he had a hearing impediment.
So you were like the Hulk with personality.
So I went out when the trams would come around. I would walk out, man, and I'd wave to people. And they were so excited, and they would people would sign because they thought I didn't know. Listen, no, I'm Jake, man. No, I'm Jake. No, we understand, Louis. We understand. You know, it's like talking to somebody who if from a foreign country. If you talk louder and slower, you think they're going to understand.
Right.
And it was insane.
What did he want you to do, and how did you rectify this situation?
You know, it took many years.
Yeah.
It took many years for us to rectify it, but Louis is great, and I love him, and he's done great things, and it's just a sweet, sweet guy. And listen, for me to even be talking like this to you about the guy who I had hanging up on my wall, right, at Cortland State along with Arnold and these guys, this is the greatest thing about this country, man. Yeah. That you get an opportunity if you take the shot. And so let me cut to the question you're asking. How did it really happen? It's an off day. I'm not doing the Hulk. I'm not bouncing in a bar. I'm sitting out what every good musclehead does. I'm catching rays, right? I'm at my apartment complex in Studio City, and this actress had come over who I had seen a bunch of times, and she says, "Can I ask you a question?" I said, "Yeah, sure." She says, I've got this Club Med commercial that I've got to do. I've got 6 weeks. I've got to get in shape. Now, Dee, she looked great. She just, I could tell, she had to wear a bikini. She said she needed the confidence and self-esteem to wear a bikini in front of Dee Ellen and 50 other people on a crew. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to help you. She goes, look, I like you, but I don't want to look like you. So this was 1979, the top of 1980. Jane Fonda had just come on the scene doing all the high-impact aerobic shows, her exercise video. All this stuff was just, fitness was just, you have no idea, right? It didn't exist, really, right? This did not exist. And she said, would you mind coming to my boyfriend's house to do a workout over there? And I said, yeah, of course. She goes, I like you, but I don't want to look like you. I don't want to be a bodybuilder. So I said, okay. She says, how much is it going to cost? I go, for me to come to your house? I don't know. Give me gas money. For my 1977 white Camaro, I had Jake 77 on the license plate. It was my lacrosse number. I always kept a very low profile. It's very important. Entrepreneurs keep a low profile. And she gave me the address, and I came up with this 30-minute workout using a broomstick, a towel, and a chair. The towel for resistance training. The chair was for push-ups and dips, right? And the broomstick was for twisting for abdominal work, right? I figured she doesn't want to get muscles. Women were very intimidated by using weights back in the day. They thought they were going to get big muscles. So I had a 30-minute workout. I love working out. I love the gym, but I never hung out in the gym.
Right.
I did my workout. I got out. So I figured, here's a 30-minute routine. I went to her boyfriend's house, knocked on the door. If you weren't on the cover of Musclehead Digest, I didn't know who you were. And guy answers the door. Turns out to be Francis Ford Coppola. And I just looked at him. I thought, this guy could use a workout too. And they started going to parties, and they started saying, people started saying, a gal named Sandy said, you look great. What are you doing? This guy Jake comes to my house. He's got a broomstick, a towel, and a chair. It's a 30-minute workout. He's pretty funny. He eats too much. They had a great fridge, man, and I had no money. And I would sit and eat the chicken, whatever was in the fridge, any kind of protein I would eat. And got to remember, brother, there was no cell phones. Mm-hmm. There was no cell phones. And you have to remember, too, I'm sure you did the same thing or didn't. When you moved from New York to California, wherever you went to, you had to list your phone number in a phone book,
right? Which
is I never did. Because my mom wasn't with me, And it was the best thing I never did. Because, as you know, in this town, if people want to get a hold of you and they can't, they seem to want you more. And it became this mystique of, who is this guy? You got to get him. And all of a sudden, I'm getting phone calls in my one-bedroom apartment on my little answering machine. Remember those answering machines, right? With the little the little beeper. It would boop, and the tape recorder would play back, and messages would come. Steven Spielberg, Harrison Ford, Priscilla Presley, Bette Midler, Warren Beatty, Barbra Streisand. I'm like, what? And I will say this to you. I mention the names, not just to show off a little bit, but I learned the greatest lesson of my life. They're no different than us. The only difference is they had a dream, and they never quit on their dream and never took no for an answer. And I live with these people. I traveled with them. I trained Harrison for Temple of Doom with Spielberg and all these great guys. And the greatest lessons that I learned were just by hanging. And with all due respect, look, I have 4 kids. They all went to college. 2 are still in college. Everybody is different. And what works for you, D, might not necessarily work for me. Same thing with exercise. You got to find what works for you. And that's the path you choose. That's the path that you stay on. And that you got to leave yourself open for opportunity and for adventure every day. I never took an acting lesson in my life. I know people will say, maybe I could go. I see. Dude never took an acting lesson.
So is that what happens? You have this personality and you're around these incredible talents who are making movies and they all just like you and go, we want to put you in a movie? Or what
that's
happens?
Exactly what happened. That started to happen. John Landis, who became a great friend of mine,
John Landis did the Blues Brothers and Animal House and
man,
Trading Places,
American Werewolf in London.
Right.
I mean, some of the greatest movies. Put me in a film called Into the Night.
So he just says, "Jake, I think you should be in this movie."
He goes, and he says, and by the way, he has always stated to this day, he says, "Jake, you fucked up your whole career by doing the fitness thing.
Right?
You should have stayed. You should have been an actor. Exactly. Right. That's and he's always said that to me.
Right.
But all that, it's just the opportunities that were in front of me, and then I started feeling opportunities that I can create on my own, just from the people that I were hanging around with and seeing what they were doing and saying, I'm going to take a shot at doing this. The biggest moment for me in fitness was Ted Turner. Gave me my shot doing the Fitness Break on Cable News Network back in 1981.
So when we come back, I want to hear that, how that comes about.
Yeah.
All right, welcome back, Hollywood Wayz. Jake Steinfeld tearing up the fitness world. And it really is, I know it's so hard to comprehend that just because it's everywhere now. It was nowhere.
Yeah.
And none of this was happening. And you're personal training some of the greatest talents in the history of Hollywood, to be honest. So, and because Jake is, just like I found you the first time, is just a personable guy. And people said, okay, let's do this. But so Ted Turner comes to you and says, I want you to...
No, there was an article on me in People magazine, which was the Bible, right? If you were in People magazine, you hit it. And the article was when Jake Barks, Spielberg, Ford, at the time Terry Garr was training her for Tootsie, a movie called Tootsie.
Little comedy, one of the greats ever.
Right.
But I need to understand, are you hiring a publicist, or is this just happening? How are these articles getting out?
Great. And that's a great question, man. You know, no one has ever asked that question to me. A publicist came to me, and this was in 1980, and this all started to happen, and said, you know, I'm hearing your name everywhere. And it was Jake, get this guy Jake, get this guy Jake. She says, what's the name of your company? Because I think we could do things. Oh, my company. I said, Body by Jake. Truly, right? And I trademarked Body by Jake. And and I made up 12 T-shirts, right? I had 12 T-shirts made up, which I gave to my 12 clients. And on the front, it said Body by Jake. And on the back, it said the Steinfeld method. Right. Okay? Right. I gave the shirt to Steven Spielberg, who I call Wheels, right? And I said, Wheels, I got a shirt for you, man. He said, it's really cool. Body by Jake. Well, that's a brand. That's got a real ring to it. Then he turned the shirt over. It said, he goes, the Steinfeld method? He goes, are you a gynecologist? He says, get rid of this. He goes, the methods are fads. Fads come and go. Brands could live forever. And that was in 1981 when he said that to me. But it's because, look, I didn't go to school, but I went to school in the right place at the right time with incredibly amazing, successful, regular people. And I say regular because they were. They truly were.
And they were good to you.
They were great to me. Listen, I wouldn't be sitting here with you, D, if Steven Spielberg wasn't my big brother. You know, guys like the late, great Steve Ross, who put Time and Warner together, coached me up in business. It just went on and on. Success breeds success, that upward spiral of success, I call it, you know?
And so this People magazine article comes out.
Yeah. So it comes out. I had just gotten a condo in Westwood, right? I figured, man, I'm living the dream. And simultaneously, I got myself a brand new 450 SL Mercedes, right? Because I used to park outside my clients' houses, outside the gates. And this is the 80s now. It was the me decade. And I said, look, I might have been born at night, but not last night. And I'm looking around. I'm saying, okay, I see this. And I'm parking outside. I'm going to get this Mercedes-Benz, black on black, 450 SL, top down, pulled up to Priscilla Presley's house, rang the buzzer. And normally I would just park outside and walk in. I just wanted to try something. I rang the buzzer, and the guy says, who is it? Who's here? I said, this is Jake. He goes, oh, that's you in the 450? I said, yeah. Come on in. And it changed everything. So from everybody,
Perception.
from People magazine to Robin Leach, Lifestyles that are Rich and Famous, to this article in People magazine comes out. I'm training Hef at the Playboy Mansion, and I get this message on my little answering machine now in Westwood from Ted Turner, who asked to call me back. Please call me back. I didn't know who he was, right? And I went to go see Hef, and I asked, do you know this man? He says, of course I do. He says, what does he want? I said, he wants me to do a fitness show for his television. He has a new cable network, a 24-hour news network, wants me to do a fitness show to make his network more family-friendly. I said, I don't want to become Jake LaLanne. I remember the words. He says, and then Hef said to me, think about something that you could do to promote yourself. And right there, we started talking, and I said, what if I did a commercial that promoted me, that he paid for, and I'm wondering, could I use some of the Playmates? And he said, whatever you want to use. And I called Wheels, all right? I went to his house to train him next. I said, could I use the house at Broad Beach? He said, no problem. Ted Turner gave me, true story, $30,000 to shoot 200 one-minute vignettes that I called Fitness Break by Jake, right? Where it was me and two Playmates. And I did an exercise using a broomstick, a towel, a chair, 2 cans of Mama's tomato paste. And it was, hey, gang, I'm Jake, a Body by Jake, and here's your fitness tip of the day. Today we're going to work the old buttissimo. And here's Marilyn, and here's Sue. And we're going to do some squats. But let's do 10 reps. Fantastic. Remember, stick to the fight when your hardest hit. It's when things seem worst that you must not quit. Don't quit. Have a great day. Those spots ran 4 times a day in the States, and they ran about 10 times an hour around the world. Because when Ted was launching cable news network, CNN, he needed filler. And my stuff he uses filler. And it made me a recognizable name around the world in 6 months.
I mean, it's so crazy, Jake. You're this fat kid with a stutter. You're such a natural salesman, business-minded guy. And here you are, by kind of happenstance, you're hanging out with the biggest guys in the world. Yeah. Was part of you going, how do I get my piece of whatever everybody else has, or is it all just kind of like?
It's a great question again, man. You know, I wasn't thinking. I was living with, man. I'm on the Warner jet with Spielberg and Michael Jackson. I'm living. I'm with these guys. But then I got into my car and went to my little apartment in Westwood.
So you felt like a little bit of an outsider,
but a little bit of an outsider. But how do I do this my way, right? Because the kiss of death would have been me pitching a movie idea to Steven Spielberg.
Right.
Handing a script, which I was not. I always admire you for the ability to write. I could tell stories. I've done 7 books, blessed New York Times, Wall Street Journal bestseller. I have great ghostwriters. To this day, my mother still says, I love the books. You do so great that you wrote those books. I go, Ma, I didn't write the book. Wes Smith wrote the book. I told him the book, you know, but I always admire, you can look at that blank page. On Instagram, you're hysterical. Now that you're back on, by the way, you know.
I'd rather a fitness video with some Playmates, but whatever.
No, but I'm just saying. So for me, it was how do I do it my way? which is the only way. Look, I'm a lefty. No one could teach me how to shoot a foul shot. Rick Barry used to shoot underhand. That's how I copied that. I played basketball. I played lacrosse. Everything I did, I had to teach myself my way. And
but when Ted Turner says, do these little vignettes, are you writing all that copy?
Yes,
Are you
it's
coming
all
up
me.
with that? And are you running it through Spielberg?
I'm running it through Spielberg, and I'm asking these guys, what do you think? And they're all laughing and loving it, and it just hit. And the same thing was, I just was able to parlay that famous by association into videos and books and television shows. And then I had this dream, right? I was doing a Body by Jake television show, and I said, Ted became a mentor and a friend to me. I hosted the first ACE Awards, which was the Emmys for cable, right? With me and Dr. Ruth Westheimer. Okay, I'm telling you right now, man, at the Shrine Auditorium here in L.A., and not necessarily
this must
the
have
news.
Been so surreal. No, you were on not necessarily the news.
No, they won, and I gave them. I gave them whatever
that was a funny show.
It was an ACE Award. Yeah. You won an ACE Award. Yeah. But all those things, I was right there, and everyone in town used to bust my balls because I was on cable. I was on cable, and then I got into the infomercial business, which I never thought, ever I would do, because it was, you look at the guy with the funny sweat. I'm dating myself now, but, the colorful sweater on, humping Pope Peel's Kitchen Magician and thing. And someone said to me, yeah, but just do it your way, like you talk about. And I found the piece of fitness equipment. And
the ab scissor?
That wasn't the first one, man. The first one was the Firm Flex in 1992, 93. And it was a piece of fitness equipment that you can sit on. You can work your whole body. I came up with something called the Simple 7, the hook. Like a musician comes up with a hook, the hook was the Simple 7. 7 simple exercises while you're sitting down watching TV.
You design this thing?
No.
How does this work?
No. I have an idea. I'm not a designer, right? I surround myself with good people. I find great people, inventors, creators, and this is what I like to do. And I've got, like you know when something is funny. I know, this works. Because for me, in the core of it all, man, I'm all about hope and health and family. I was always like that. Hope, health, and family. And all those three things, you live by that, good things happen. And that first piece of equipment, we shot an infomercial, right, that I stood up and just spoke into the camera, did my rapid do, and we did about $95 million in sales.
In 1992?
93.
Wow. It's unbelievable.
And it just kept and those just so my company was like a movie studio. We did one movie a year, so one piece of fitness equipment a year, and we had an incredible string of success. And look, like I said, man, I've been very blessed in my life, but it's about taking shots, and I failed miserably too. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you every single thing I touched, D.
Yeah, we have a stock together that we're failing at right now.
Well, but listen, I going to Home Shopping, which, by the way, you need to see Home Shopping in real life because you would lose your mind. All right, now I spent 17 years on Home Shopping Network, right? Where when you sit and you do your victory show with the fellas in person, live audience, nothing beats a live audience, man. You get a laugh. It's that 800 people all laughing together.
Well, what beats it is selling $92 million in step 7 scissors or whatever it is.
You're making money when you're sleeping, for sure.
No,
but
it's amazing.
Selling live on television, there's nothing like it. So if you can visualize for a second, you're selling live, you're on Home Shopping, there's a computer screen to your left. Now, I don't know how it is today. I haven't been on for a number of years. You have 4 cameras, and you have 2 models on the piece of equipment. I have an IFB, a little thing in my ear. I have a TD telling me, hey, Jake, look at this camera, look at that camera, and we want to show some B-roll, whatever it might be. And you're seeing calls online, calls on hold, and dollars per minute that you're doing.
It's phenomenal.
And it's like being in Las Vegas. It's a rush.
And so my question, though, is you're surrounded by these world beaters who look at you as their trainer.
Right.
Yep. Then all of a sudden you're making more money, not than Spielberg, but than a lot of them.
Right.
And does that change the relationship?
Absolutely does. 1988, I woke up one morning and I said, this is the last time I'm going to train somebody. So, I've always gone on my gut, D. Like I said, we never put a business plan together about anything. I've gone on my gut with everything. I bet on people. I bet on relationships. I bet on myself. And I woke up in 88 when you kept talking throughout this whole time about you were the first guy to do personal fitness training and made it an occupation. Yes, more and more people were coming in. And I just felt like, now it's time to make the move, time to do something new, or you become stagnant or you become just like everybody else. So I stopped. I left the personal training world and stayed body. Look, I'm always body by Jake. No matter where I go, you're still body by Jake. But I wanted to do new things. So that's where the idea of doing my own television network. I saw Ted, saw what he did with Headline News. I said, I can do this as a 24-hour fitness television network. By the way, no background in it. I said, I'm going to take the shot. I'll get the right people around me. And I still say, like we opened the show up when you're talking about writing your show, the world lets you be what you make them believe you are. The world lets you be what you make them believe you are. You say it enough times, it's going to come true. It's going to happen. You might not win, but it's going to happen. And I launched Fit TV in 1992 and sold it to Rupert Murdoch in 1997. It changed my life. Basketball was a big thing for me, and I wanted to buy an NBA team.
But I want to know how your friends reacted to that.
Oh, they were great. Listen, I hung around with some big dogs, and they were all so supportive.
Oh, that's great.
And still to this day, love to say I gave Jake a start. Which I love to hear. We have a mutual friend, Colleen Camp. We didn't mention Colleen. A great actress, an incredible producer, the Oscar whisperer, she calls herself today. Mm-hmm. But she was truly, truly ground zero for me. Ground zero. And there's so many great people that...
And Colleen was on Entourage, and Colleen was also, Apocalypse Now and Clue. And
exactly. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for a lot of people who really did me right, And that's what you got to live by is I got dealt right by so many people that all I love to do is help younger people now who are coming up in the industry and show support, whether it's for my buddy D, you, and whatever I can do. It makes it so much more fun. Yeah. I asked a question to my friend Steven Spielberg a long time ago, man. When I had enough courage, one of the first times I went to his house, and I said, what's it like to be rich? And I thought for sure it was like, so you don't have a car payment, you don't have a rent payment. He goes, Jake, it's having the ability to do what you want, when you want, with who you want, how you want, anytime you want. And that to me, it was 1981 when he told me those words. It resonates to this day.
Yeah. I think it's all about getting to a place where you can have your creative freedom to do your outlets. You're going to do a podcast. You've recorded a few. I don't know. They're like the hidden files because we did me and you a while ago.
Maybe we'll break them
out.
But,
it's just, as I said, you're a great Hollywood story, an unlikely story, and really about perseverance and starting in something. So it was great.
Don't quit, man.
Yeah.
Listen. And the words "don't quit."
And you got a product still. Right now we got a big product.
Yeah, man. We're I was cut from my 8th grade basketball team. You know those moments, man. And I was given a poem called "Don't Quit." A friend gave it to me just out of the clear blue, and I was hardly a poet. And for some reason, once again, life's about moments. I kept that poem. And that poem resonated with me. It became a Bible verse to me. And in 1981, I trademarked the words "Don't Quit." And I've kept it sacred. The last 2 lines of the poem are, stick to the fight. When your heart is hit, it's when things seem worse that you must not quit. And it's a poem that I recite every day. The plaque itself is on my desk. I think I showed it to you. And if you live by those words and live by the fact that you get up every morning and enjoy every moment, good, bad, or indifferent, you're breathing, you're up, you're rocking and rolling, you take the shot, don't waste a minute. You can make money, D. You can lose money, you make it again, but you can never, ever get time back.
That's a good point. Jake's up, by the way, 4:30 in the morning when I text him.
Baby.
I'm sitting in bed trying to sleep. He's already worked out.
Banging the iron around,
hours. So I love it. And everybody, check out this Don't Quit.
Don't Quit.
Is a great, I have one every day. It's
Don't Quit Max.
No sugar added.
33 grams
with
of
a lot of protein. And
26 vitamins and minerals, 1 gram of sugar.
That's why I've got more muscles than Jake now. So
you
Jake,
do. Looking huge, baby.
Jake,
D.
thank you for coming in. Love you.
Hey,
and,
I'm on the show, right?
Jake wants to be on the new show. Jake's on the new show.
I
That's
love
how
it.
it works.
That's how it works, man.
All right. When we will be back. We will have Breezy back next week, which I actually
was hoping I would have.
I actually wish you met her because she has a good Steven Spielberg story. He saw her on her show and flew her to New York and brought her in for a meeting.
That's
So,
what he does.
Yeah,
Listen,
he really.
I was there when those things happened.
He really saw something in her. Same thing I did, and I expect good things for her. But you'll meet her next time. We'll have you back,
Awesome.
and we'll do some scenes together. So we'll be back next
Hollywood
week. Hollywood
Wayz.
You are now tuned in to Hollywood Wayz with Doug and Breezy. Oh, hey, Ted.